Welcome to Evolving Women, where we talk real reinvention, purpose in midlife, and what it means to rise into who you were always meant to be. I'm Teresa Lysam, and today's conversation is just one more reminder that it's never too late to rewrite your story. Well, I'm Teresa Lysam, and I want to welcome you to this episode of Evolving Women. And I'm here today with my guest co-host, Jeanette Deatherage. Hi. Hi, Jeanette.
Hi,
How are you doing? Thanks
I'm
so much
great.
for being here. And we're just going to get started right away because I'm anxious to hear your story and where you were sharing with me just a moment ago about the start of something interesting. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you. Well, it all started. I went to a semester of college and then I decided I was going to join the Air Force. And that kind of stuck in my head because I was 4 years old when my brother came home from Vietnam in his dress
Mm.
uniform. So I got off the bus at tech school, and my husband knew he wanted to take me on a date. So he asked me on a date. He proposed a week later, and we got married 2 months later. So we've been
Wow,
married
that
for
is
43 years.
Wow, congratulations on that. Wow. That was very quick.
Yes, yes, it was. But it was the right thing. We both knew that that's what we wanted to do. It's very common in tech school to get married, actually. So you get to the same assignment, but not all last 43 years. So we're very happy with that. It takes a lot of work, of course.
Oh, it
And,
does. It does.
now he's retired. So it's come full circle.
Wow. Like I said, that is awesome. Congratulations on the longevity of that. So you were in the military after, did you complete college and then go? No,
No,
you said one
I just
semester, right?
1 semester.
That's right.
Yes. It's delayed entry. It took a while, like 9 months after you sign up, for them to say, okay, we're ready. It was really backlogged back then.
Hmm.
Um, but they they put it they gave me an assignment in electronics because I was good at math, and I can barely plug in a toaster. So that was not a good fit for me to
So
have be able
ironic,
to
huh?
yes. So I won an award in the public affairs man came to take pictures of me, and he said, Airman, I want you to work for me in public affairs. Yes, I can do that. So I was really excited about it. Some of my articles got published and everything in the military times and whatever. But then the Air Force said, oh, you've been working out of your career field that we paid and trained you to do electronics. So you're going to go somewhere else, and your husband's going to go somewhere else. And it's like, oh no, that's not going to happen. So I went in the reserves, and I had to give back twice as much time that I had left. And I ended up giving a little bit more time because the reserves, it's very interesting. You'd go in 2 days a month and then 2 weeks a year. So it was pretty easy to plan. But before I did that, I joined Mary Kay because I was working with all men, and that part I didn't like very much. So I'll talk a little bit more about that in a little while. But as a reservist, I didn't realize that. I mean, I should have known better that they can call you up to active duty. And
Mm.
I had had children by then. I had a baby. My husband
Oh,
was deployed. It was during the first Gulf War. And they said, well, how soon can you find a babysitter? I was like, I guess Monday. He says, well, we'll see you at work on Monday.
wow.
And the first Gulf War didn't really last long enough to send me overseas. So I was really happy about that, but I was still
Fortunately.
working. Yes. When my husband came home from his deployment, I was working full time with the military, and we decided that with children, one person in the military was going to be enough.
Hmm.
So that's kind of how we ended up with that. The Mary Kay side of the story was I didn't do anything with my business for a while. I went to training and I went to the meetings twice a week. That's what I did. And my mentor was like, why aren't you holding parties when you're well trained? Why aren't you actually working? Don't you have a bill? And at the time, we had a little house, a little car. I said, no, I don't have any bills to pay. And she's like, go get a bill. I think she probably meant something like $500. So I would have to get up and go to work and hold parties. Well, I ended up buying a brand new Thunderbird, and that, it's a car. Um, and I had to make the car payment. So I started holding parties like I was supposed to. And 6 months later, I earned the use of my first company car and gave my husband the Thunderbird. So, and then
Oh,
after
cool.
that, for the next 22 years, I was driving a Mary Kay car every other year. They exchanged the cars, so you're
Oh,
mostly
wow.
driving a pretty new car. So
Well,
that
that
was a
was
lot of fun.
that was a darn good motivation then for
It
you
was a
to
yes,
get things in gear for you.
yes. I had to make those payments, and then and of course, when you're qualifying for a car, it does take a lot of work. You have to have a team and all that. And, it worked out because I was able to spend time with the kids. We had two
Mhm.
girls. I got to go to their school, do
Yeah.
room mom and all that kind of stuff. So that really worked out well. And then we had to move because of my husband's job. But when I was in the military, I was wearing combat boots and fatigues, and he was in a flight suit or blues. And that blue uniform, that's what I joined. That's what I thought I was going to join.
That-
I didn't realize I would be in like a MASH unit. It wasn't hospital, but it was mobile. I was in the third
mm,
mob, and it was a mobile unit where a lot of the guys were getting deployed before the women were. And that's why we decided that the public affairs job was going to be a better fit for me, but that's not what was in the cards. So I, my first move to Virginia, I had met my adopted director, which means she took me in as her own, and somebody else was taking her people as their own. So it's a really good program that Mary Kay has. Wherever you live, you can go to a meeting there, whether that director is earning a commission or not. You get to get
mhm.
adopted. So I told my director there in Virginia I was going to have $1,000 week, and she says, Jeanette, you don't know anybody. How are you going to have $1,000 week? I said, that's what I'm going to have. And she says, well, I believe you will. She really poured into that belief. And back then, believe it or not, we had phone books. And I literally
Oh,
went
yeah.
through the phone book and started booking parties through the phone book. And I came
Wow.
back the next week, we got my little ribbon that said $1,000 week. And it was just like, so that she carried that story for many, many years because it was something that, if you believe you can do it, you can do it. So that was a pretty good move. Um, and then we kept moving. And
Mhm.
sometimes it was like a little harder to move each time because I was leaving friends. I was,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
get used to it. Fortunately, our daughters adjusted very, very well to moving. I didn't have that pleasure of, because it started to get harder and harder every time. So um, we went to Georgia, we were in Alabama, and he went overseas, and I couldn't go overseas with him because I was building my business. And at that time, I was a sales director. I was not allowed to leave the country to live. So I
Oh,
literally commuted from Oklahoma to Japan. I mean, it
wow.
was 5 airplanes. It was 30 hours to get
Wow.
there. That was way in the years where they weren't traveling as much to Japan. Now you can do it like in 2 airplanes, I think. But
Mm, wow.
um, it was just something that I did. And our daughter was 4, and she said for her birthday she wanted a little sister, and we were traveling back and forth, and it did not make any sense to have a second child, but
Mhm.
I did get pregnant on the first commute with our second daughter.
Mhm.
And so I left my other daughter there. We traded back and forth. He would come over with my daughter, then I would take her back. And when it was time to have my baby, he wasn't there yet. It came early, and so I called him up. I said, "Happy Father's Day. I'm going to the hospital." And I had 2 Mary Kay people on both sides, on each side of me, that I had as my coaches. And they were really good
Mm.
coaches because they had already had children, so they knew what to do. And he tried really, really hard to get back in time, but he had my other daughter, so he couldn't take a military hop. He had to wait and
Wow.
take regular civilian airplanes. So
Yeah.
he was in Hawaii when I had my second child. And when they both came in, they don't let you leave the hospital unless the baby has a name. So when they both came to, I was probably there 2 days, and my daughter held her sister and she called her Melody. And my husband and
Mm.
I looked at each other and was like, that was one of the names on our list.
Oh.
So it just happened to be, and now she does sing. So it's
Oh, how
kind of
cool.
neat. It really goes hand in hand with her name. So we're pretty
That is
excited about
so
that.
cool. So if I can jump in, I have a couple of points I want to come back to. So first, I applaud you and I thank you for being a military family, a military wife. My husband was in the reserves as well for a very long time. Was I always happy about it? No. Did we have to travel around? No. But I got a teeny fraction of what it was like. And so I honor anybody that has to make those multiple moves. And then you were commuting back and forth to Japan with a little one in tow, right? That's huge. And I just want to acknowledge you and all the military families out there because I just think that takes a special commitment to be able to do that and being flexible and versatile and going with whatever is happening in the moment. And for your kids to make those adjustments, always having to meet new people and adapt to new environments. Like that's huge.
It really was. It really was. But at the time, you just did it. It was, you
Exactly.
didn't have a
You were
choice.
just in survival mode, I'm sure.
Yes.
As a young mom, I remember being in survival mode all the time. But with that being said, you were in the military with all men. Yeah, I think you said it wasn't exactly the way you thought it would play out for you.
I didn't think it was going to be mobile with combat boots and fatigues. I had steel toe
Mhm.
boots, and my husband had regular, the dress blues.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, this is not the same.
Did
This is
he go in
not
as an officer? Is that how he
he didn't
started or
have,
no?
no, he went in with two stripes. He went to college, but never finished. So he went in with two stripes and I went in with one. Normally you go
Okay.
in with zero. Normally you
Okay.
don't have any stripes or anything when you start your basic training. And then
Mm-hmm.
you work up to that. But he was able to go with two stripes and I went with one. So that did save us time to get promoted because we
Mm-hmm.
started out with something,
Okay.
which was good.
Yeah.
But like I said, I worked with all men, and then that's where I found Mary Kay
Yeah, I
um,
find that kind of comical. Like you went from one extreme to the other extreme on purpose.
on purpose.
On
Yes,
purpose.
because it was like I didn't comb my hair. I didn't because you put a baseball cap on. That's one of your
Mm,
uniforms, and then you take off your baseball hat, stick it in your pocket, and so I didn't wear any makeup. I didn't. So
mm-hmm.
when I told one of my friends, while I was in the military, and she worked at the photo lab, and I told her, I said, I'm going to start selling Mary Kay, and she just looked at me and smiled, and later on she said, how in the world is she going to do that? She doesn't wear makeup. She can't, doesn't comb her hair. How is she going to be? Because it was real short, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
she was, how she can do that? But she supported me. She believed in me, but she was, in the back of her mind thinking that's just not going to work. So that's why I got trained, and they show you how to wear the makeup. And even at
Mm-hmm.
our parties, we never apply it for them. We teach them how to apply it. So that way, the next day, they know how to do it because they were the ones that did it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
If
like
you do
that.
it for them, you do it for, it's like teach someone how to fish, right?
Yes, yes.
So,
Yeah, I know another Mary Kay friend of mine. Not she wasn't in the military, but somewhat similar start. She didn't wear makeup. She didn't know anything about it, but I can't remember what her impetus was to get into Mary Kay. But it was just opportunity. Again, I don't know what her reasoning was, but yeah, she had to like learn from scratch because she didn't know neither. And it was kind of comical because like even she saw the irony of that. Like, oh, I don't even do makeup, but yet I'm going to go learn and teach others how to do makeup. Oh, I just think that's so fun. Again, you step into things without realizing how they're going to turn out. Like you make these choices either intentionally or without intention and just see where they go. And
mhm.
sometimes they're going to work out perfect for you, and other times you have to pivot, make a change, go in a different direction. I mean, that's how life is. It's not a straight shot. It's turning and ups and downs and all over. And sometimes I think we believe other people's journeys have been a straight shot up, and like ours is so complicated and, weavy and windy. But I don't think that's true. I think that's just a perception we have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So guess where his last assignment was?
Where,
Tokyo.
oh,
So this time I got smart. I bought a townhouse in Panama City, Florida. And so that was my home base, but I really lived with him in
oh,
Tokyo, and the kids lived with him in Tokyo. And I would just go back and forth, but it was just a lot easier to go back and forth then. And I stayed longer in Japan because I had a home address. And my daughter decided that she really wanted to come to Florida for her senior year, because if you graduate from Florida, the schools you get scholarships from schools if you go to a Florida school and you graduated from a Florida high school.
okay. Okay.
But she actually was kind of by herself until I traveled back and forth. But she was 18. Her birthday was in September, so it worked out easily that she was able to, stay by herself, and I would come visit her. And it was a lot easier back then. And the trip to Tokyo, my husband was the highest enlisted person in the whole country, so it was really a great experience.
Cool. So you lived there as a family the bulk of the time in Tokyo,
Right.
just coming back as needed. And then when your daughter needed to be in Florida, she had a home
Right.
base. So yeah, that worked out beautifully, didn't it?
Yes, we were really blessed to
That was
to
good.
have that opportunity. Um, I thought I was going to be a top director, so we just kept on doing that. But with all the moves, it wasn't easy to become a top director because you have to have a big team, and that just really wasn't in the cards for me. So I was a director for 30 years, and that was the time that I made enough money to support everything I wanted to do and work with the children and things like that, since I have two girls.
Right, right.
um,
I know it's important. And I felt the same way when my kids were young. I wanted to be there with them, so we had to make certain choices to make that happen, so that I wasn't going to work every day for the beginning part of their life. So yeah, those are choices we all have to make. But I do want to talk about, you were moving to these different places. You didn't know people. You used the phone book. You still had to create your clientele in all these new places. Like, how was that for you? Are you an outgoing person? Is it easy for you to connect with others? Was it a struggle for you? Like, did you have to use some technique? Like, what was going on for you around that?
I'm kind of I'm an introvert and an extrovert. I don't know what there's a name for that when
Yeah,
you're
it's ambivert. Amber, I never heard that till a couple years ago. Like, what is that? So yeah, that's both.
so you get the courage to be able to do that. Well, there is another pivot. When my husband retired, I was like, well, I don't want him just retiring and not doing anything. So I took him to a job fair, and the guy said, well, we'll hire either one of you. And then we laughed and we went home. On a Monday, he called. He says, I told my boss I hired you. Who's coming? You or your husband? And my husband looked at me. He says, I did 28 years. You go. And it was a 6-month job to help veterans get jobs. Well, it lasted 6 years because I
Wow.
loved what I was doing, and they
Mm-hmm.
loved me. The whole community, they knew our names because of the fact that my husband was the highest enlisted. So, and
Mm-hmm.
I was, all in the community through the chamber. So they knew who we were, and it was a great job. And then I, at 6 years, I ended up with a new boss, and it just didn't work out anymore. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought it's time to quit and just do my Mary Kay. So I joined the chamber, and that was a good way to find people, the Chamber of Commerce, and I joined another women's group. So that made a difference. And then I campaigned for somebody, and he ended up getting hired as the military affairs guy for a congressman twice, two different times. So that was a really exciting part of our life too, because not everybody has that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Um, But that's where things start to pivot again. Well, he was working for a urologist who happened to be retired, and he was in Congress. Um, my husband ended up getting diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, had already
Mm,
metastasized. It was a prostate cancer that had spread through his bones when we found it.
mm,
And it's like my whole world fell apart. And the
I
girls were
bet.
like, it was a very difficult thing to handle because stage 4, you don't really stay at stage 4. Only 3% of men who have it as far as his is are still alive. Only 3%. He's in
Wow.
the top 3%.
Wow, that's
So
awesome.
lucky and blessed. And we have people all over the world praying for him.
Mm,
So we moved to Tallahassee. I was not happy moving to Tallahassee, but our daughter was there going to school. So we moved there and we had to see her every weekend. And then after she graduated, I just made some friends, some really, really good friends. But my other daughter, it was in South Florida, said, "We have your grandson. You need to come here." So we did. We moved to South Florida so we could be close to our grandson. We're a mile away.
nice.
And it just, that's really what makes him happy. He says he's grandparenting. I said it's babysitting. He goes, "No, no, no. I'm grandparenting." I said, "Okay, let me go do my Mary Kay." And then they ended up with the second child. And so one daughter has just two boys. Her and her husband have two boys. And then my other daughter just got married and she's up in DC.
Mm,
So it's really been an interesting because girls and boys are so different. And so
that's what
you
I
take care of
hear.
the boys.
I
Um,
don't know because I only have girls, but I wouldn't know what to do with a boy if I had one. So,
oh, yeah, they love to play in the dirt. That's their thing.
I do want to applaud you again. From what I'm hearing, it's interesting that you're what is it? Whatever that is. Ambivert, not ambient. And you were able to flow between introvert and extrovert as needed,
Mhm.
correct?
Yes, I mean, I
Now,
was just, yeah.
so when you're extroverting and interacting and networking with people and meeting new people, does that drain you after a certain point and you have to go into your introvert mode, or how's that work?
I do get tired.
Mhm.
And then yes, I kind of go back into myself. One of the moves, I think it was one in Tallahassee, I just couldn't go to work. I couldn't do Mary Kay, I couldn't do anything. So my friend, the one that laughed at me about, the first one I told,
When you started, yeah.
yes, she said go and volunteer. So I did. I volunteered at the VA, at the library, and a food bank. And that got I was an extrovert again because I had to be on the phone. I was with people and everything worked. And Teresa, one of the things that I value the most about that is when I left, they named an award after me, the Jeanette
Oh,
Deatherage Service Award.
oh, how cool.
So
Wow.
yes, I thought you had to be dead to have something
Oh,
named after you. I
and you just proved it wrong. So that's a
proved them
story
wrong.
that is not
So,
true.
yes, yes. And
But
now they have a grant, so they have somebody else working that position, but they have given the Jeanette Deatherage Service Award to somebody else.
oh my God, that is
Um,
so awesome.
it
Wow,
was pretty cool.
congratulations on
Thank
that.
you.
And what I keep hearing is a theme or a common thread through your stories is you're not afraid to say yes to opportunities that present themselves. Say yes to a move, say yes to going to Japan, say yes to volunteering, say yes to this job that lasted 6 years, say yes, like, am I right about that?
You are. We do it as a family though. We sit down and talk and make sure it's the right thing to do.
Mm,
Um, Especially with this diagnosis and everything, we got closer. And
mm,
and that's one of my themes to be on camera is to actually reach out and say, if you have a man in your life, make sure they get their prostate checked
mm,
because 1 in 8 men will get prostate cancer, but it's very, very curable in their first and second stages. It's 100% curable. So
mm.
that's something to remember. And I really want to, get that, you know, assignment out. What is it called? A PSA. I want to make sure that everybody knows that once, especially men, I mean, if there is breast cancer in the family, they are a little more likely to get prostate cancer. So,
Really?
um, and a lot of our friends that served in the military now, there was burn pits. That's a whole different thing.
Yep.
They're getting cancer. So it was
Wow.
almost like the Vietnam vets with Agent Orange. This is the burn pits, and a lot of our friends are getting cancer. So they really, really, really need to get checked and make sure that they have, the right help in doing that.
Wow. And I love that you stay connected to the VA, the
Mhm.
veterans community, the military community in different capacities now,
Right, right, exactly.
because they definitely need services for sure.
Mhm.
Like I said, my husband was in the reserves for a very long time, so I can kind of understand and relate it to a couple things you've already spoken about. And I love that you make your decisions as a family.
Mhm.
That is even now, like from when your kids were small to now, you've made
Mhm.
those family decisions together.
Right,
Oh,
right,
that's so beautiful. What a cool thing. You didn't just go in there as a parent and dictate, this is what we're going to do. Like
right,
it came to general consensus. Wow,
right.
so many beautiful things that you've brought up. I wanted to just jump back before we wrap it up. When you were talking about somebody believing in you and you believing in others until they make it, I think that's really, really powerful. You had a couple people in your lives, I'm sure more than you spoke about, that held the belief for you and
Mhm.
believed that you could do something. And so that ignited your own belief that you could do it.
Yes, yes. And it's hard for women, as you know, to
Yeah.
really, we don't always believe in the positive part of it.
No,
But
no.
yes, when somebody else is there, pushing you on, and then you pass it on to the next person and you really help them. I mean, we know other people who have had cancer, so we're there if they need to talk to somebody because it's not an easy thing, but you have to learn to do what you're supposed to do and live with it and just know that there's so many people praying and it's been working out.
Yeah, so I'm again hearing a common theme of supporting each other, community, believing, offer sharing your belief. Like I may not believe what I'm doing, but you can believe in me, and that's going to help me start to turn my thoughts around to believe in myself. So I just love some of these messages and these themes. Support, community, be there for others, consensus, like there's so many beautiful themes that have cropped up in our conversation. So thank you. That
Oh, you're
is
welcome.
just fabulous. Now, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, how could they do that?
I'll be giving you my website. That's the easiest place. And
Okay.
of course, my phone number. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. So there's just really all places that can reach me. And I'll make sure that you have all those numbers and
Okay.
places that they
Yes.
can reach me
Yeah.
at.
We'll include those, yes, with the show notes with the description so you can reach out and touch in with Jeanette if you have anything that you want to know about Mary Kay, or maybe just ask about her story. Maybe something she said resonated with you and you want to connect with her. Would that be okay, Jeanette, if they
That sounds
reached
great.
out?
Thank you.
I want
Absolutely.
to thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. And I hope people have seen that it can take turns and twists. And like I said, it's not a straight line. So if your life is not playing out in a straight line, don't worry about it. It's all going to work out and it's all going to be a beautiful journey. So enjoy the journey,
Absolutely.
basically. So thank you so much, my friend. Appreciate you. I'm going to, you put up my little sign here that reminds me what to say.
Oh, I
So
like it.
please subscribe, share, comment, like. If this conversation has resonated for you and you think it might benefit somebody else, please share it with them. And I want to thank everybody for listening in. Thank you, Jeanette, again. We appreciate you, and we will see everybody the next time. Bye bye.
Thank you.